So folks, if you like our channel, there's lots of ways you can help us by sponsoring us. You can do it through Buy Me a Coffee, pay us a couple of quid, and that'll help with our travel expenses.
And if you're a small company or a big company and you would like us to talk about your product, promote your product, please do get in touch. There will be a link below.
So hi folks, here I am with Frank Portinari, a very well-known terrace legend and UDA man. How are you, Frank?
I'm very well, and I'm very pleased to meet you, I've got to say. It's been a long time.
So the terraces, that's what I, wanted to talk about. Of course, you know my mate Jason Mariner, don't you?
Oh, Jason, I wish you was here. Only so you could buy me a pint, obviously. But no, you're doing well where you are, mate, and I think you're in the best place. And
absolutely.
I wish you all the best.
So what was the lure of the terraces for you?
Well, I think it's a cultural thing. I think it's a case of if you lived round here, if you lived in the road I used to live in, which is 2 minutes from where I live now, it's that road was I think completely Tottenham, almost Tottenham. If you take into account the early '60s, Tottenham had won the double,
yes,
and then they'd won the following year they won the FA Cup, then they won the Cup Winners' Cup,
yes, they
won the FA Cup again. I'm sure Jason remembers 1967 because we beat Chelsea 2-1 at Wembley. Anyway, so 9 out of 10 people in our street, the dads, the uncles, older brothers were all Tottenham.
Who were the football heroes in that side? Was it Jimmy Greaves and all that?
Well, even before that, it would have been Mackay, wouldn't it? It'd
yes.
been Dave Mackay and people like John White and
yes.
Bill Brown, the goalkeeper. But I always say, it doesn't matter where you go. If you're on a desert island, there's always a Manchester United fan in it. And it doesn't matter where you go, you always find one.
Yeah.
And so we had one. We did have one in the street. Around here, where we're sitting now, when they built the flats, for some reason the flats all tended the majority to be Arsenal.
Really? Yeah.
So this was an Arsenal pub.
Yeah.
The old
do you remember the first time you actually went to Tottenham?
But no, I can't remember my first home game because I'd have been quite young.
Yeah.
But I can remember my first away game, and that would have been 1971. And I went to Main Road, and we lost to Manchester City,
right,
4-0. And I left before the end, and I got chased because in those days scarves were a trophy.
Yes,
it was all skinheads in those days.
Yeah. Were you a skinhead?
No, I wasn't. Ironically, no. If anything, I quite long hair because I used to like football on a Saturday and concerts on a Sunday. So I'd attend the Roundhouse, places like the Roundhouse and so on.
Fantastic.
And so I get chased to the station, and then there are these Tottenham skinheads, and they go, "You're right, mate. I'm only a kid, school kid." And I go, "I've just been chased." And anyway, these Manchester City fellas came in, and there was a scuffle, and it did me a massive favour because my old man was a lorry driver and used to get tickets off of British Rail.
Right.
I couldn't go on football specials, and that was dangerous. I had to get the train before the football special.
Yes.
So when I arrived somewhere, there was hundreds of skinheads already waiting.
So were the football specials really dangerous, really?
They were basically the worst stop that the railways had, and
yes.
in fairness, I suppose the percentage of how many got smashed up over the years. They was never going to give you luxury, were they?
They were smashed up. It's funny you're talking about Manchester United. So I remember going up to Manchester United when they were playing West Ham. Yeah. And one of the trains was burnt down. We had to get out on the track.
I don't doubt. I mean, I was only going to give you the Orient Express to below the skinheads. And of course, what happened was I went into school on the Monday, and my schoolmates could not believe this skinny little kid, 10 stone 7, had gone all the way to. You just didn't go up north in those days. It was very dangerous.
It's weird that because kids would never do that nowadays at that age.
No.
You just get on that train and you go up. I remember going from Brighton up to Manchester, and I was like,
no fear at all. No. Well, fear. Maybe I didn't even know what fear was at that stage. Maybe But so I go to school on the Monday, and of course I've got my scarf on. Yeah. And God, you went to Manchester, So of course the following week we played Liverpool at home, and we walked past a couple of pubs, the Bell and Hare and the Corner Pin, and there's all these skinheads outside. Yeah. And I'm with my skinny little mates, and then all of a sudden you hear, "Frank, all right?" And my mates go, "Who's that?" "That's my mates, innit? I was up in Manchester with them last."
So when did you kind of get involved with the sort of the group?
I think it was accidental because it wasn't definitely not something I was going looking for. No, far from it. No. Far from it. I genuinely was a football fan. Yeah. I liked the football. Yeah. They were my heroes. Yeah. When we played football locally, I was Alan Gilzean.
Yes.
In fact, I've landed up as the same haircut as him now. Bless him, he's not with us anymore. But no, I genuinely liked football, playing it and watching it. And then I think I was about, I say 15, 16. And it was Stoke away.
Right. That's a tough ground.
And I suppose you think if I go and stand or walk to the ground and away from the ground with all these big fellas, you'll be all right. Well, I clearly learnt over the years, just because someone's big, it doesn't mean they've got any bottle. No. And anyway, it came unstuck, this group. I didn't know them. Another game I'd gone on my own, and we got separated. And it was a case of stand or run.
Right.
And
so what happens is the whole group.
I mean, don't forget there was hundreds onto hundreds in those days. It was a bit of a free for all. And I always say to people, in those days you could be punching someone and you'd be getting punched, but someone completely different from the side, behind, getting kicked up the arse, whatever. In fact, he was happy if it was somebody who kicked you up the arse and it wasn't a copper that was doing it. Yes. You know. And people started to run, but some people didn't run, and I didn't run.
No. Well, were you not frightened in that situation?
I think I'd convinced myself if I run and get tripped up, I'm going to be in more trouble than if I stand on my feet. And that's what done me a favour. That's what's.
But that's a kind of brave decision, isn't it? To something.
Well, again, I don't know if I recognised it as brave at the time. Looking back on it, yes, probably, because as I say, I'm not sure what I knew at that age. What bravery was. It was self-preservation. Yeah. It was, well, if I run and get tripped up and they get me on the floor, I'm in trouble. Yeah. If I stand I think I threw one punch. I couldn't even see whether it connected. Right. And I received a few punches, and then the police came and so on. But again, the effect is the following week. I was going in pubs at 15, 16, albeit I wasn't a big drinker then, and I'd probably have half a lager and it'd last me forever. And
but is it like the sense of camaraderie?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's all of a sudden people say, "Oh, I saw you up in Stoke last week, mate," and you go, "Oh, well, yeah, right." Because you're not looking. You would maybe later on in life, but not at that stage. Of you going, "Oh, you know," you went, "Oh, right," and they went, "Oh, yeah, fair play, mate. You stood." Other people in the vicinity hear that. So when you go to the next away game, people see you, people recognise you, people know you're a bloke who's not going to run. So if I'm in their company, it puts them at ease slightly, even older blokes. And I kind of, did I manipulate that? I suppose I did to a certain degree. It then got me access to 17, 18-year-olds, and then 20-year-olds.
Is there like a hierarchy?
Most definitely, yeah. It's quite funny when I see some of the fellows I look up to now, like, you know, I could help them across the road, they're that old, you know. It's quite a strange situation.
So do you get like sort of roles within the group where you're a spotter or you got...
No, I think that got more sophisticated in the 80s, wasn't it? You know, the casual scene. I mean, people laugh. I was on a page one day in the week when people were talking about their Stone Islands and bits and pieces, and I said, I was quite content with a Camden Council donkey jacket, like, you know, because if it got damaged or you lost it, you just went and got another one the next week, you know. Absolutely. But that was I actually think that fashion of the donkey jacket, because the Northerners and people in the Midlands, we walked out of a station and they saw, you know, 10, 15 of us with a donkey jacket. They knew who we were. There was no hiding it. So it was a bit of a uniform, and quite a tough uniform. You know, it was a working man's uniform.
Absolutely.
So you know.
So how did you kind of progress? How did it go on? Did you suddenly get involved in a fight every week? Or
well, I think I'd equate it to this. Right. This is how you know the proper people, for want of a better way of putting it. If you've got Newcastle away on a Wednesday night,
that's tough.
You see everyone at the home game on the Saturday. They're all going. They're all going. Well, I'd seen it more than once when you got down to King's Cross and Pancras. Hold on, where's so-and-so? Oh, he's working, isn't he? Oh, of course he is. So his mum's not well or something, you know. So what you do learn very quickly is if you go, you know a certain other group of people will go because they trust you. And I will say this, I'm not saying I never learnt to be, but I wasn't the best fighter. Right. But if you said we're going through their turnstile to their end, I'm going through that turnstile. Right. blokes a lot bigger than me, blokes that could probably do me in a straightener, didn't go through that turnstile.
Well, why do you think you had that characteristic?
I don't know, mate. I don't know if it was... Maybe by that time I'd realised that if you do go through that turnstile, even if you get kicked to fuck, you know, even if you get nicked, that is going to get that's going to be recognised. So in a sense, it's a badge of honour, and that's happened throughout my life. Yeah. There's been situations where some people would say, "Oh, what'd you do that for?" or "How did you feel about that?" And I equate it to, well, you either let it beat you, you know, or you say, no, I'm gonna accept that as a badge of honour. And I think over the time, and a responsibility. I mean, I can remember, man, I've been with my wife 52 years. We met when we were 15, and I said this to somebody recently. I honestly think we thought we was impressing our girlfriends. Yeah. I honestly think that they thought, you know, oh, when we come back from Leeds away and we've had a punch up, you go, God, you won't believe it, babe. Yeah, there were 10 of them and 5 of us. And, yeah, we've done this and we've done that. You're thinking, she's thinking, her and her mates are thinking, oh, that's our heroes, they are. No, they're not, are they? They're thinking, fucking idiots. Look at them.
It's amazing. She's stuck by you all these years, doesn't she?
Yeah, it's a bit of a schizophrenic existence, to be quite honest, in the sense that her and both my daughters will give me credit for being a good husband and a good dad.
I mean, would you say that you've got like a violent nature?
No,
I mean,
not particularly.
Because you don't strike me like that. As
I haven't. You know? But what I do have is I have the capacity to switch.
Yes. So
So.
Is there a moment?
And that can be, look, it could be, if I see an injustice, if I see a liberty being taken, I can switch onto that straight. I prefer not to.
Yes.
And there are times, you talk about being brave, you know, at the time, right? Let's go the other way. Let's talk about fear.
Yeah.
There are times when I've lacked fear, when I should have had fear.
Yes.
Because then fear would have kept me away from that scenario, that situation, where I've become too blasé.
Yes.
And then it's gone wrong. Well, if the fear had stepped in first, I'd have walked away, wouldn't I? I'd have tried to find a way to avoid that situation. So,
did you ever get sort of badly injured in those kind of football fights?
I only did once to the extent where we played Arsenal. There'd been a big fight outside the stadium, and we were at home, and then Arsenal were going into their allotted end, you know, and some of us got in with them to continue fighting. The police realised what was going on, so they went to kick us all out.
Right.
Silly me, hadn't had enough. Assumed not everyone had been thrown out, and we'd all meet up again somewhere. And I kind of went, oh, like this, and this copper went, you're right. I said, oh, them fucking Tottenham bastards, they've just done me and all that. He went, oh, you're all right, mate. So I didn't get slung out, did I? No. So I go to the toilet. But some of these Arsenal fellas saw me go to the toilet. And I was at the urinal. Yeah. But I woke up in a cubicle.
Really?
Yeah. And I say this to people, I immediately went like this. I felt for my ears in case someone had took a trophy, you know. And... but what I did have was concussion. Yeah. And a John's ambulance bloke said, "No, mate, you're not right." And they put me in an ambulance and took me to North Middlesex Hospital. But God, I sat there for 2 hours, didn't even see him. And I got a cab and I came home. But this is a nasty side that I will recognise. When I was in the back of the ambulance, there was a fella, an Arsenal fan, absolutely screaming in pain. Really? And I think I kind of said, what's the fucking matter with him? Yeah. You know, and I think they said it was something like, I think it was appendicitis or something. Yeah. It was clearly painful. Yeah. And I kind of remember saying, oh, fuck him, I hope he dies. Yeah. What an horrible, wicked thing to say. Yeah. And in the cold light of day, I clearly wouldn't have meant that. No. But the rivalry and the intensity, you know, the hatred was so bad.
Do you have any sort of regrets about people that you might have, you know, punched in or something in
those
situations?
No, because I never ever punched anyone that didn't want to get punched or took the risk of being punched. And given the opportunity that they would punch me.
Yes.
So that, to me, that's even.
Yeah.
Looking back on it now, if you'd have come here today and you said to me, see you, it's people like you that my dad stopped me going to football, I ain't gonna feel very good about it, am I? Do you know? And what brought it home to me, I actually remember either the Observer or the Guardian accusing me of being part of a conspiracy that started the riots in Dublin, England and Ireland, you know, where the game got called off.
Yeah.
I was banged up.
Yes.
I was outside on the island, nothing to do with me.
Right.
But they were trying to make connections between the football, the right wing, loyalists. So I understand why I was a convenient, person to be mentioned. I do remember seeing afterwards at that riot where there was a man on the pitch with his son, an Irish fella, and he was cuddling him, and the kid was petrified.
Yes.
And I thought, it's quite an iconic
I remember
picture.
That. Yes.
And I thought, that's not good, is it? All the ones doing the fighting are thinking, we're all, we're the business, we're this, that, and the other, we're fighting for our country or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
And I thought, if you're out in the street and you're kicking the shit out of each other, fair enough.
Yes.
It's not meant to make a kid feel like that.
No.
So I can look back and think, it's not ideal.
It was quite frightening when there was suddenly a huge charge. From one side.
I think if you can convince yourself it's like-minded people, but did innocent people get a good hiding sometimes? Yeah, of course they did. I know they did.
Yeah.
People didn't distinguish always.
No.
No.
Do you see? Do you get on with people now from rival clubs?
Yeah,
it's funny that your
is.
mates, because I know with Jason, he chats to all the other different rival fans.
I think if people don't embellish the stories too much.
Yes.
And there's just been
a few, isn't there?
There's just been a recent video of a Millwall chap.
Yes.
You've seen it?
Yeah, have you?
Where someone walks into a cafe and pulls him up about an incident that he claimed on, with James English that these few numbers chased, or give these far superior numbers a good idea. Look, I don't know if that's true or not. I've heard both sides of the story, but he's clearly not in his right mind. No. He's physically an old man. I bumped into him a few years ago on one of the doors up in Windsor. He was working on the door of a pub, and even then he wasn't right mentally or physically.
No.
So I thought, yes, it probably isn't true what he said, but do you really need to pull a man at that age and in that state, and embarrass him to the rest of the world? Come on, let it go. Just you either believe him or you don't believe him. I actually don't believe what he said, and I've spoken to some West Ham fellas who were there, and and I tend to believe what they say. But equally, when West Ham, when people have done West Ham, I've believed them, and when West Ham have told me another day that they did Millwall, well, I believe them. So,
what were the particular firms? Obviously, like Millwall, West Ham, and were they the kind of toughest firms?
But a lot of people say back then that it was Arsenal, and a lot of tough fellas from over south East London, Woolwich and all round there, Plumstead, etc. And but I suppose when it became more recognised for what it was, in last it was West Ham. To me, it'll always be West Ham. We never played Millwall enough to make a judgment, but I think at different times every dog's had its day. If you talk about Tottenham, Arsenal, West Ham, Chelsea, I think they've all had their, they're all. They'll be the top of somebody's list. I know a fella that is always saying, Tottenham always brought the best mobs up to Leeds, for example. Yeah. But somebody else would say, Chelsea brought the best mobs to Sunderland. Or it just depends. I always look at it was that we couldn't beat Man United because there was so many of the buggers. Right. I mean, there were thousands of them, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, but sometimes I felt sorry for Man United because you could always find someone to punch, couldn't you? Because there was someone, because they came from all over the bloody country. Yeah. So
were there particular people that were sort of admired more in that Hooligan era, like particular characters like a Carlton Leach or?
Well, that's where I will say that Tottenham haven't got that.
No.
Tottenham haven't got that. I mean, even Arsenal can say, he was a lot younger than me, the bear.
Yeah.
You know, so. But take a look at your social media as well.
Mm-hmm.
So before people were taking photographs and so on, yeah, you obviously Bill Gardner. If you're going to say West Ham, you'd say Bill Gardner. Carlton to a certain degree, you know, Andy Swallow. But that's because they weren't only football hooligans.
Yes.
They had other interests in life as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they branched out and Cass, becoming a writer, etc. Whereas not many clubs did that.
No.
Not, the chap at Everton, Nichols, he did it. The bloke at Sheffield United, people started to get the hang of putting it right in their stories. But when I was younger, Bill Kearnsey from Somerstown, he's a good pal of mine. He's 5 years older than me. He's the one that used to get me in trouble,
right.
and we still drinking here together. You ask blokes about Kearnsey, they won't know. You could be in a pub up in Manchester. People get your accent and go, I remember the days we used to come down to Euston all round the back of Somerstown, the coffee house and the Lion and Lamb and the Lord Summers. You mention his name and they'll know him.
Yeah.
You could mention his name over Tottenham and someone goes that.
Yeah.
So, Sammy Skies, Black Sam over Tottenham, Keepy Robbins, but they're never going to write a book.
No.
They're never going to go on a podcast.
No.
But they would have been the people, because they were older than me for a start.
Yeah.
They were older than me.
What were the sort of if you look back, the worst kind of riot that you got involved in?
Oh, easy, Millwall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it at Millwall?
Yeah. I remember a game, we had Millwall in a night game, a cup game at Tottenham, and I remember going to the Park Lane end, and I thought, God, these are big blokes, aren't they? I don't recognise any of these blokes. And they were Millwall.
Yeah.
And so I was a teenager, and some of these were like in their 20s, and it was men against boys, if I'm honest.
Really?
And there was very, very little resistance. and then you become 20, don't you? Yeah. Then you become 20, and you've been all over the country, and you've been to Europe, and we suddenly get Millwall on Boxing Day.
Right.
And it's a situation where, I always say this, I don't know if it was Panorama or World in Action, did a programme about it. And so weeks leading up to on the Underground, you'd be at Euston, or there'd be little skirmishes, and there'd be all this, wait till you come to Bandit Country and all this, and you'd win some and lose some.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes it might be because there's more of you, sometimes they'd win because there was more of them. Anyway, so we get to the day. I've been to a Christmas party not far from here. I've left at 5 o'clock in the morning. Everyone's going. Yeah. It's a 12 o'clock kick-off. 8 o'clock in the morning. Bang, bang, bang on the door. And I mean a knocker. No bells in them days. A knocker on it, bang, bang, bang. Yeah. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. Go to the door. It's my mate Bill Kearnsey. Frankie, come on, mate. I've got the van outside. What are you talking about, Bill? What van? He's nicked the works van, right? Open back van. It's got pickaxes on the back, shovels, all sorts on this back. I said, "Where's everyone else, Bill?" He said, "I don't know." I said, "Basically, it's me and you." I said, "You're fucking joking, ain't you?" I said, "I drank a bottle of night for fucking Captain Morgan's last night. I can't even walk properly." "Nah, come on, we're going to pick up some boys from Old Street, Oxton, Bethnal Green, etc." Get in the van. What's the plan, Bill? Right, what we're going to do, we're going to go down Old Kent Road. We're going to attack Millwall pub to Canterbury Arms. Right, okay. We got as far as we went too near London Bridge, and the old Bill realised what was going on, and they pulled us over, slung us out of the motor, put us up with everybody else basically. Got on the train to New Cross Gate or New Cross, whichever one it was.
What's the walk to Millwall like?
I think, if you got what I always laugh about it is I've never seen so many blokes in suits go to a football match, because they'd all been to Christmas parties the night before. There was a little bit of a standoff at different times. What was funny, there was a fella from round here who wrote a book called, I think it was called When Your Bottle's Gone in SE16. What was he called? Mick. I'll think of his surname in a minute. And he was with a lot of Millwall faces on the other side of the road. And there was a bit of a Mexican standoff because it was one of... He saw Kernsey and thought, oh, fuck that. Yeah. And I think he kind of whispered to some of his mates, leave it out because I live around here and this could be all good for me at a later stage. Mick Mahoney, that was his name. I'll give him credit where it's due. Yeah, Mick Mahoney. He went on to be a playwright. Right. And the idea was that we went down this alleyway and we were going to try and creep in and get crazy when I think about it now, to get into the Millwall end, right, you know. And some idiot inside the ground saw us come in and shouted out, it was a Tottenham fella, here they come the Tottenham boys now. And the old Bill was straight on it. Oh, really? The old Bill was straight. And then after the game...
That was a brave move to try and take the Millwall end, wasn't it?
Yeah, I hadn't put much thought into it, to be honest. Bill was in front of me. That was good enough. Yeah. I don't think we went as far as to try and take it, but I think if it'd been a moral victory if we at least stepped foot in there. That would have been handy. But after the game, it was terrible. Really? Liam, it was. I say to people were kicking down walls and throwing bricks at each other. Right. People were ripping off wooden fencing. There were some railings and the rails were loose. Right. And people were throwing them like they were spears. Yeah. I saw a fella next to me and he put a screwdriver through a fella's cheek. Really? And I thought, hold on. Yeah. I'm not sure I subscribe to that. No. And,
do people come tooled up?
I wasn't conscious. I wasn't conscious of it that day. It was whatever you could get your hands on. It seemed to be to me. Yeah. Apart from this screwdriver, I never saw anybody with a knife or any other tool, and I got mixed feelings about that. So that person, that he might have lived off that for the rest of his life. Oh, I done a Millwall geezer. I'm more inclined to think, what'd you take a screwdriver for? Mm-hmm. A little bit of that says to me you were scared. Yeah. Did you ever go tooled up? No, never, ever. Really? No, never, ever. And I've never approved of it. I picked up a shovel. Sounds a bit contradictory. I picked up a shovel once out of a pile of sand. And that's because we were way too complacent. We were drinking over Bethnal Green. We weren't even going to go out of the game. And we saw a fella washing his van, and one of our Bright Spark roofing mates decided to let a gas canister off in the pub where it was in the birdcage. Yeah. And so we all had to come out of the pub. Now we're thinking, what are we going to do now then? Yeah. See this bloke doing the vessel. Why don't we give him a couple of quid, ask him to take us to White City, which he did. Yeah. Arsenal was at home, so we asked him if he could go via Arsenal. Yes. Ambush a few. He wasn't up for that. Got out, went in an off licence, and they're walking down the road in 2s and 3s. It's just QPR, we're not bothered. Yeah. And all of a sudden, these 12, 15 young black fellas come round the corner, tooled up, you know. And even then, you kind of have this mad, we're Tottenham, they'll back off. Yeah. They're worried about us. Yeah. Well, they weren't worried about us. Because they're a new generation. And they're trying to make their mark, you know. So all of a sudden, we fronted them. So another lot come round the corner. We found out afterwards it was all the boys from Latimer Road and Ladbroke Grove. Yeah. And we got fuck all. We got cans of beer. Yeah. And fortunately there was a skip. Yeah. So some of the boys went and picked up bits and pieces out of skip. And by the side of the skip was a pile of sand, and there was a shovel. Yes. So I ran down the road towards them with the shovel. Yeah. All my mates are calling me Rommel of the Desert because desert boots have made a comeback when I was wearing a pair of desert boots. That was quite funny. What saved the situation, because I'm not sure what I'd have done with that shovel, to be honest. A cop on an horse come round the corner and he scattered everyone, enough for the rest of the police to come and, Would I have used it? I don't know. I mean, if I'd have seen mates, one mate got a small nick on the side of his arm. I'd have seen somebody outnumbered on the floor or getting stabbed. Well, then probably I would have done, because it'd have been a case of having to. Yeah. But I don't think I got up that morning and went out with the intent to hit someone with a shovel. No. You know?
You were saying earlier that you didn't follow England abroad.
No.
But you did. You went abroad with Tottenham, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I kind of look at it like this. I got the feeling if I went away to the away games with England, I've got more chance of getting nicked fighting with Chelsea and West Ham.
Oh, right, yes.
Than what I have fighting a German or a Dutchman. So you're risking it every Saturday and Wednesday usually. You know, so it's usually 2 games a week, wasn't it? So why go and risk it again? And I did take liberties. And look, if there's a big group of you fighting each other and there's 2 coppers, they can't nick you all, can they?
No. So
you'll get away with it this week, but the following week you might not get away with it. It might be your turn to get your collar felt. You know, I remember times when a copper on a horse has grabbed hold of me by the collar.
Yeah.
He can't nick you though, can he?
No.
He can just stop you doing what you're doing, and then he's got to hope another copper comes along and nicks you. So again, I got away.
How do you look back on all that whole period? Do you look back and think, well, you know, that was a laugh?
I sat on a bus once, and a young mate of mine, I'm going to see him later, funny enough. I used to work with his dad years ago.
Yeah.
I was on a bus once, and he got on the bus, and he went, "Right, Frank, go so-and-so Saturday, heard it all kicked up." I'm like, "Mick, you know, shh. I don't want all the people on the bus hearing I'm a football hooligan." You know, so I think there's an element of, if you're in the right company, it's a badge of honour.
Yes.
You know, it can be embarrassing at other times.
Yeah, do you find it embarrassing now to even go back over it? I mean, because I think people on my channel, they'll be fascinated by it.
Sometimes, look, you've got to take into account, you follow certain paths in life. I'll say that without going too deep and too much into the psychology.
Yeah.
I had 2 dads. My original dad left when I was about 2,
Yes.
18 months, 2. My stepdad meant well, but he didn't want me, did he? He wanted my mum.
Yes.
So he inherited me.
Yes.
He wasn't a football lover. He came once to Tottenham, we beat Nottingham Forest 4-1. Bless him, he went and got Spurs tattoo.
Yeah.
But that was it.
Yeah.
And
so you didn't have that kind of parental.
no, I had no older brothers.
No. I really can relate to that.
And I radiated towards. Yeah. I was always in other people's houses.
Yes.
And I always got on with their dads.
Yes.
Always got on with their dads.
Yeah.
And even later in life as an adult, I still find myself radiating towards older men in the sense that they're knowledgeable.
I'm exactly the same.
You know, their life. I'm fascinated. Their life experiences.
Yeah.
I can make comparisons. Yeah, I think that shaped me a lot. Even when I look at it now, my mate Bill, as I say, he's got to be 5 years old. I worked with him on the buildings years ago. That's you know, we became, and I drank with him when I was a teenager. I suppose if he wasn't a father figure, but he was clearly an older brother.
Yes.
Figure to be working with him, socialising with him. So I think there was a lot to do with that.
Yeah, I totally get that.
And I'm very much a man's man. I like men's company.
Yes.
I hate it when you're out with half a dozen mates having a good time, and a couple of birds walked in.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, all your mates start competing with each other.
Yeah.
They start insulting each other.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to talk to him, love. He's married, or whatever. Yeah. They suddenly start, jockeying for positions and all. And I'm like, hold on.
Yeah.
He's having a good time just now. All of a sudden, 2 sloppy birds have walked in.
Absolutely.
And I don't like that. I had my time with my wife.
Yeah.
I had my time with my family, and I had my time with my mates.
Yeah.
And I don't want any interference with any of it.